Thank you very much. So my name is Sundgren, work for AstraZeneca, and in the area of data science and artificial intelligence, focusing on EHR integration services in AstraZeneca. I was also the coordinator for the electronic health records for clinical research projects from inception, initiation, completion, and also scale up. And what once was said, this is impossible, is now possible, and it has been for a couple of years. And I will take you through the journey of the EHR for CR project, and which is today as a continuous collaboration with some of the partners back from the IMI era. So next slide. I will take you through the very quick about the project and the scale-up activities, and also that the EHR for CR laid the foundation for a completely new technology. Put it like this: we didn't really understand it when we started up the project in the first, but then we emerged to, because based on the scope of the project, federated EHR technology is now a reality and is probably a very important technology for the future. So I'm going to take you through sort of the basic characteristics, how that technology works. Examples of how we use it as business as usual in AstraZeneca and many other pharma companies today, and also a quick outlook what the technology can do for the future, which also could be some interesting collaboration with future IMI projects. Next slide. So EHR for CR project was the one of the 2009 core topic, and the research problem was actually very bold. Research and develop a trustworthy and scalable platform technology and business model that could reuse electronic health data across different systems, different sites, different countries, different regions, to supporting clinical research process. If you do the next build up, please. So what we were aiming to do, three impact areas that were important for the pharma industry. We were 10 pharma companies, and that was that EHR for CR should support trial design, support feasibility and site selection by using EHR in a federated way, and also the recruitment piece. If you can do that and choose those sites who can do that, the recruitment comes as a build-up service opportunity. And we were bold enough to put in the third one, the holy grail, which is that if you can do the feasibility, if you can do the recruitment, and those sites who is embarking on that trial could also use the EHR to EDC or the outer population of EHR directly into the study database. We were running from 2011 to 2016 with an extension year. In 2017, we continues with some of the core partners to do a deployment program, helping one of the helping the professional service technology platform that came out in the extension year, together with the Institute for Innovation through Health Data in Europe. We built up the network in Europe, and the federated technology could sort of really unlocking new opportunities and new collaborations, and definitely I'm going to talk a little bit about a gateway, how to collaborate around using real world data for clinical trials. The companies that is using the technology based from EHR for CR were Clinarion, which is now an existing company, Insight, which was really the extension year technology platform from one of the partners in the project site, and it's also telling characteristics about the federated technology. Insight platform should provide insights, scientific insight, but also the data stays insight, and I will take more on that. Trinetics is currently the biggest provider, but also Flatiron, Deep Six, among others, who is essentially using the requirements that was released in 2013 from the project. Next slide. I will not dwell on this. We have a problem in pharma industry, and it is with the clinical trials. If you don't get it right from the first place, if you don't get the TPP and the target profile right and the design for a trial, it calls for problem by means of amendments and also the difficulties to not being optimized into the recruitment phase. And all the other steps is needed, not mentioning the data that we need to shift between the different modules in a clinical trial, which could be a remedy for the EHR to EDC or the auto population of data. Next slide. So this is a snapshot of the project. We were 35 partners, 10 pharmas and 11 hospital sites in Europe. That was important to have the number of pharmas to demonstrate that we can do the pressure test of the federated platform technology across multiple countries in Europe, also complying to the GDPR principles, which I already said that one of the important principles is that data stays where it has been created. But more to that in a couple of minutes. Next slide. So this is just a snapshot about what came out of the 2016. We had a newborn professional platform that we could use. And after 1 year after that, we were able to get an European Innovation Award because we could use the Insight platform to enhance not only to demonstrate that we could reuse data for design support and feasibility in the real time, but also that we could demonstrate that we can use those sites who are most suitable because they have the data and a data-driven approach to enhance recruitment. So together with Janssen and AstraZeneca, we launched a pilot which gave that platform an innovation award for the recruitment piece. As part of the delivery of the project, we also thought that if this technology is going to go into full swing and get the acceptance from other hospitals, and also having an opportunity to future vendors that have an accreditation mechanism, the European Institute for Innovation through Health Data was born. So the two major deliverables from the project was actually one professional platform, but also an institute who took care of all the different data and the requirements, but also got its first assignment, and that was to do an accreditation mechanism program in which Insight platform was the first one to qualify. That was very important for us when we did the champion program together with Janssen and Sanofi and some other companies, where we actually built up the European hospital network. Next slide. So today, it is clear that this federated EHR technology is really important and will have a huge impact to support clinical research and trial execution over the next years. And regulators are very supportive. We have been within the EHR for CR project, we had 2 interactions with FDA and also EMA, but also in the EHR to EDC program that which actually started in 2018 as a direct continuation of the EHR for CR project, also have very important regulatory interactions about the technology. So it has paved the way for establishment of the technology and that we can use real-world data and EHR data in a federated way. In my view, of course, I'm biased, but I think this dynamic way of using data where it has been created is the only way forward in comparison to the static centralized way, which always complicate things. And we have been able to influence some other IMI projects like EMIF, EDEN, PEARL, and EIT for Health EHR to EDC project. Next slide. Next slide. So how does it work? It is federated. So the vendor, in this case, Trinetics and Insight, as just an example, it works for the other vendors that I talked about, can connect and provide a local installation in each of the healthcare organizations and actually provide a kind of ETL process where data is transferred and de-identified from different locations in a healthcare organization already here, and that placed into a clinical data warehouse locally installed or directly up to a cloud-based environment. In either way, that provides the opportunity to create interoperability, but also to make it possible to see structured data in a way from the central platform way. So on the right-hand side is the kind of simplified way how AstraZeneca researcher or any other pharma industry or academic partner who's subscribing for this technology could actually build up quite sophisticated research queries or transform a relevant clinical trials protocol that maps the structured data that you have on the left-hand side, that we call transformation of a protocol, and then actually run the queries in real time and get it back in seconds, which in a way takes us months with the old way of communicating to sites and asking for their feasibility of things. Next slide. So, and next slide. So this is also one of the crux in the whole project and the technology is that it is federated. Data stays where it has been created. It's completely owned by the healthcare organization or the other owners. We are aiming in this first generation of federated EHR technology for structured data as a golden standard, which also in a very nice way secure the semantic interoperability across countries, where we actually aiming for capturing the different terminologies that represent diagnostics, lab results, or diagnosis in ICD-10 code and so forth, and could be transferred in a real-time fashion to the central platform. And that means that for the services, the first line of services and recruitment services, no personalized information is shared, so completely within GDPR compliance. Next slide. Just to give you an understanding of what AstraZeneca is using right now, Trinetics Global Network is now a merger between the Insight platform from the EHR project and spans now for more than 120 million patients in real time. And from a scalability perspective, it is, of course, interesting to connect with networks of networks. So HCOs in this way is to be seen as a network of hospitals. So what you see here is actually a kind of a representation of more than 1,200 sites that is accessible through the platform. Next slide. These represent the key three areas from the EHR for CR project, starting with protocol feasibility and study design support, selecting those sites within the network that can demonstrate in a data-driven approach the highest number of eligible patients would of course be an interesting candidate to go through patient recruitment services using this technology, where the individual sites could easily, with the technology, find eligible patients and therefore enhance and bring them into the trial compared to otherwise. That was within the scope with the original EHR for CR project. It actually, the data capture and exchange, we were bold enough to put that service in, but we were not able to do it. And that task was taking on with the EHR to EDC project, which was kicked off in 2018 to 19. And we are continuing to work with it, which is essentially using this technology to further demonstrate that we can capture data automatically in a stepwise way. Imagine that we have an oncology trial only using this technology for a few sites, and if we can capture the massive data intensive lab modules like local lab, we could save time and we could save money and we could save time to get the medicine faster to the market. So this is a technology that can reap benefits very early on in a hybrid fashion. And of course, if there are S3, there is also S4 services. And this is the kind of way of hospitals that using this technology, their interesting aspect to apply artificial and machine learning aspect of using the structured data into a more fine-tuned combination of sensors and algorithm, for example, to support diagnosis and diseases that are complicated to recruit, like NASH and so on and so forth. Next slide. Next slide. And to AstraZeneca, we give you some examples here. We are using it as an obligatory aspect that all studies and protocols should go through the lenses of testing the designs and the protocols through federated services. So we're using it for design support, and we hit a good milestone in September last year, where we actually had more than 150 studies that has been using the technology. We're also using it for exploratory assessment and also patient journeys, compare cohort, and so on. Next slide. So this has really provided value, not only for AstraZeneca, but also an opportunity for many of the pharma companies who are using the technology. And now I'm not just talking about Trinetis, I'm talking about Clinarion, I'm talking about Flatiron, and so on, because it allows the massive use of high quality EHR data in a real-time way to give us the appropriate scale of data to give us an indication on the design, the feasibility, and so on. Next slide. And finishing off with an outlook. In the industry and in the academic, the talk about pragmatic clinical trials, whereas that could be defined as clinical trials that are more embedded into a healthcare environment. This technology have very interesting opportunities to perform pragmatic clinical trials. Imagine if we combine the services that we have, vendors and tech and networks for a given design of a trial, where we can do the data-driven approach to really prove that design is the right one that we are thinking about, so we can reduce number of amendments. If we have enough, and then we can find the sites who are best suited from a data-driven approach to do the recruitment. And then imagine that we can have those sites to have a capability to also, in a more automated fashion, reuse the data directly in from the EHRs. That would bring us to a way that I could probably say that will probably transform the way we are doing clinical trials. And also it is an important way to collaborate with sites, because one of the important things that we had in the project, and I think is really important to acknowledge, it has to be useful. It has to have value demonstration for the sites as well as for the sponsors. And next slide. So real-time access, a strong collaboration, and a gateway for more cost-effective data exchange. And next slide. I see I'm running out of time. And next slide. And next slide. I think for those who have seen the film The Beautiful Mind, I'm taking homage of the former laureate, Nobel laureate in economics, John Nash. Nash equilibrium is not about a disease, but it is about the way to achieve the best outcome in collaboration. So the best results will come where everyone in the group do what's best for themselves and the group. And I think that has been the telltale sign for the EHR4CR project, and of course for other IMI project, but also for the rest of the journey. And I think that is an important opportunity also for the whole federated EHR technology. So thank you very much for taking the time.